Hey there. Today I thought I'd do something a little different. I was going to talk about session prep. I've seen that topic come up a few times on other YouTube channels, so I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in there and talk about the different styles I use, tips, things that I do, and my thought. A lot of it, hopefully, will be like my thought process behind session prep. Now, so we'll start off. What is my style? And I kind of fluctuate. I used to be very, very heavy prep, almost writing modules like box text, the whole 9 yard. And I did a lot of narrative description stuff just because I felt like I wasn't that good at presenting the information on the fly. So I wanted that information there. And I talked to my players. My players liked it. They didn't have a problem with it. But it was more work. I liked writing a lot when I was a kid, younger, so that style kind of worked for me. And growing up with old modules. Now I will say, my prep is based solely on obviously what I do, but my games are mostly homebrew, right? I don't use a lot of pre-published adventures. I will, like in our weekly group, but in my current Castle Crusades group, I don't. I mean, I'm using some of the stuff from the old Raw to Seven Parts adventure, but like we're not playing out that adventure. I'm using the information from it. So most of this will pertain. So I do end up doing a lot more prep at times because in my homebrew setting, it's not fully fleshed out. It's a work in progress. It will always be. So sometimes my session prep is nothing more than just developing the setting, and then the players do what they do. But I kind of fluctuate between like heavy and light prep, and obviously, there's a lot that goes into heavy prep, lighter prep. The writing is probably lighter prep for me now. I don't spend a lot of time usually on like monster stats. Like I do a lot of homebrew monsters and stuff. I'll change monsters up, bring in new monsters from different games and stuff just to keep my players on their toes and keep it interesting. And I will do conversions. CNC is easy to convert to, like if you're using any other game. I've converted a lot of stuff from Pathfinder 3.5 through 3 stuff. That's pretty easy to do. Some people you'll hear some people talk about how session prep leads to railroading, and it could. I don't doubt that. It doesn't in my games because I am not married to any of my material. My players are free to do, for the most part, what they want. I mean, we're not going to waste a session on shopping all session or anything like nonsense like that, but they're free to go and do what they want to do. And that doesn't matter if I have 10 pages of notes, which I haven't done in a very, very long time, or our full gaming table full of terrain. If they go in a different direction than that stuff, I don't really care. I don't try to. I mean, I'll try to be I'll try to get them on track if I can, but I'm not going to force them into that. If they go off in a different direction, and this has happened a couple times in the past, I've had full tables of terrain out and it's covered. They have no idea what it is, and they went in a different direction, and they never saw it. And it was a common question, or it would come up often, and when talking about that particular campaign, like, what was under that table? And I think I eventually told them, but it was just a whole different adventure. They went in a different direction, and that was fine. So I'm not married to my ideas, so prepping ahead of time doesn't lead me to railroad the characters. I also ask them a lot of time, almost every time, like, what do you guys want to do the next session? And they'll tell me. Usually they'll have an idea what they want to do, and I do prep that stuff because I want to be prepared. I owe it to them to be prepared when they show up at the table, and we generally stick to that. Like, that's the plan going in, but they can deviate, and there are sessions where we don't do that. I've had sessions where I've only planned like the first part of it, or prepped the first part of it. The rest of it, no idea, and we just free-formed it, and that led into a whole side tangent that lasted several sessions, which was a lot of fun. So I use a little bit of both, like light prep and heavy prep. A good friend of mine, my friend Brendan, is one of the guys I consider the master of light prep. I've seen him. We'd gone to his house. We were going to do something. We weren't going to game, and then, or someone was going to run a game. He wasn't, and then that fell through. And with 10 minutes of time, he just went in another room and thought about it for a little bit and quietly, and came back and he ran a session for us. And he literally had 10 minutes to prep that session, and we played for 3 hours maybe. And you never would have known that he'd only prepped like 10 minutes. Like, he's really good at it. So I take inspiration from that. I try to pull from different people that I see and I like what they do. So I try to take the stuff that I like and use it myself. But we'll talk about the benefits of prep. So I'm working off some loose notes here, so bear with me. So one of the benefits of prep is it gives you material to pull from. So if they do, you have something to fall back on. And this comes into play sometimes because one of the things I'll say is it's further down. Probably should have been in the beginning. Prep what inspires you, right? So I prep, like, sometimes I work on stuff that I have no idea when it's going to go in the session. And it may not make it. But I have that because I'm inspired to work on it. And for me, prepping a game, working on a game, and that can be writing, it can be painting miniatures, it can be building terrain, all that stuff, that's part of play for me as a game master. One of the reasons I prefer running games over playing games is because I always have something to do. I have a basement full of miniatures and terrain that need to be painted. I have tons of ideas that need to be fleshed out. So I always have something to do. That's why. So part of prep is part of play. That's a huge thing for me. I prep what inspires me. I may have an idea about something. I have no idea when it's going to happen or if it will happen. But if I have the time, and I do usually, I will put some work into that. And if it's not anything we're going to use right away, I just it's in my notes and I have it. But what that allows me to do is sometimes you don't know when that stuff is going to come out. And your players could have gone, you'd planned for them to go in one direction and they go in a different direction. Well, now you can pull from that information that you just have stored away and use it, and you're ready. And a big thing with me as a game master, I like to do is when the players go off what I had thought they were going to do or what it looked like they were going to do, and take me in a new direction. My goal is to make that look seamless, like I was prepared for it, even though I may have no idea what we're going to do next. So I really try to achieve that. That's a big part of prep. I don't want to be stumbling over stuff and trying to come up with something on the spot. I can. I think I'm pretty good at that, but I also like to pull from the material I have. But a lot of it is improv. Improv is one of the best skills that you can ever have as a game master. Like, it's probably the most important skill you can have, in my opinion. But just being able to adapt on the fly. But it's a big thing for me to make it look like this was all part of my plan, even though it was nothing to do with what I prepped. So, but having other things to pull in from, and I've done that a lot. I've done whole sessions that way that have popped up, and it was one weekend we were playing, and I was going to run 2 sessions, and I had the material. I thought I had enough material, and they literally burned through it. They got way further than I thought they were going. And they got through all of my material in the first session. So I had a break between sessions, dug into my notes, saw some stuff that fit, and the next session was a go with very little effort. The next section, I'll talk a little about what do I use to prep. So there are, like, in front of you in the camera here, there's different books that I can use. Like, if I'm stumped on an idea and I just need to, like, look through something, maybe spark the imagination a little bit. These are just 3 books, but I have a few others, but these are some of my ones that were readily available. And I used, like, the Dread Thingonomicon from Raging Swan. It's a system neutral book, and it is a huge book just full of different ideas. Really good book. And its companion, the Dread Laernicon, is just all different layers. And if you need a layer for something. There you go. And then there's a classic tome of adventure design. And to be honest, I don't use this book as much as I should. I'm very guilty of getting really great books, looking at them for a bit, then shelving them. So I'm going to leave that book out for a while and dive into it, and see what it sparks for ideas. So yeah, if I'm stumped, I'll look through some books, maybe, and see if something inspires me. Maybe even gives me an idea. I didn't really think I was going to go in that direction, but you never know. I've done that. I picked up a copy of Forbidden Lands, one of the new Forbidden Lands books. This was a while ago, but like I was thumbing through it at my game store, and I saw something, and then immediately gave me an idea. I put it in the next session on Castle Crusades, and now that's a reoccurring NPC character that I got. Ravlunda is, if you follow our recaps, she's this mysterious woman. There's her and her sister. But those were inspired just from a passage in the Forbidden Land books. So I use books. Terrain. So I may have like an idea for the adventure, but I'm not really sure how it's gonna come together. This is especially true for like dungeon crawls. I may have like the final boss room or whatever kind of figured out, maybe, but it's the rest of it. So what I'll do is I'll go down where we on the big table, and it doesn't have to be the big table, but that's typically how it works out. And I'll just start putting terrain together. And as the terrain is being put together, I'm laying it out. Could be, Dwarven Forge stuff. It could be my own stuff or 3D printed stuff, a combination of both. And as I'm laying this stuff out, I'm starting to get ideas. And from those ideas, the adventure builds. And it's kind of like, almost like backwards design, I think. So I build the terrain first, and that's what inspires me to do the other ideas. One of the more recent CNC sessions where we had the play, I built out this dungeon, and it had like a cave section on one side, and I had everything else planned out. It was actually one of the last dragon tomb the party went into, and I had this cave section, but I have no idea what to put in it. And then I grabbed some of the mushroom stuff, terrain pieces I have, 3D printed stuff, and I started placing that in there. And then that started giving me the ideas about, the sentient mushroom type thing and that whole encounter. And that actually turned out to be the favorite part of the dungeon. Not only mine, but it was also the players. Like it was also close to a TPK, but it was really creepy and just very different, and it really hit home for all of us. So all of that was built. I had no idea about that going into it. Like that wasn't even a thing. So that was inspired through the terrain. Miniatures, same thing. I have thousands of miniatures, and sadly most of them are not painted. But what happens with me a lot of times is I look at miniatures a lot. I'm a big fan. And I'll see a miniature, and the next thing I know, I'm building an adventure around that miniature. Like it's a boss miniature or something. Or it doesn't even have to be. It could be an NPC. Sometimes NPC creation is done that way. I'll see a cool miniature, and I'm like, oh, I need to make a NPC around that miniature. Or sometimes I make my player characters that way, some of the ones I play. But miniatures are a great one. These aren't bad methods, in my opinion. The thing to be careful with is, like for me, it's gotten to a point where I have a lot of stuff. I'm lucky I have a lot of stuff. But I need to be better about looking at the stuff that I already have and like sorting adventures that way, creating adventures that way. A lot of times I just see stuff and I buy it and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then I'm like, well, I could have done the same thing with that other miniature over there. I didn't have to spend that money. So it can be a trap to fall into, but there's worse things I guess I could do with my money. Yeah, and I had mentioned this before. I get a general idea from the players ahead of time, like what they want to do, typically. And, that directs my preparation a little bit. And then I work on the other stuff that maybe they're not talking about or they don't even know about that I'm just inspired to work on. I work on that stuff as well. Let's see, what else? They, Yeah. Oh, I have a section here on what I kind of consider light prep. Pre-written adventures for sure. Well-written ones. And I think it's very important to make that distinction because I know from looking at and have played in some adventures run by really good game masters and talked to them, like the adventures weren't that well written and they had to do a lot of work to kind of make them work well. I've had some good experiences because I don't run a lot of pre-generated stuff. Part of the reason I don't do that, or I didn't do that in the past, and I don't typically do it for my main campaigns, is I like the creation process. I mean, it's a big draw for me as a game master, and to me, like learning a module is like studying. And there's some great modules. I have a boatload of modules and stuff. Most of them I have not played, just because I don't get as inspired. I don't have as much interest. Like I buy them because they look cool and they are cool. But for me, it's more like studying than creating, and I really like the creation process as a game master. But having said that, my little bit of experience, recent experience, I would say, in the last couple of years, I've ran a couple modules, and one of them was, I should have had this prepped, but I'm not a very good YouTuber. So this was one that I ran for Dragonbane for my weekly group, Shadow over Gloomshire. This was a lot of fun, good adventure, and I prepped a lot in the beginning of it. Like I was writing out lots of notes and all this stuff, and then I don't know, I think we played like 8 sessions of this, and I think we weren't even halfway done and I stopped doing that. Like I just read the module, like the layout and such for this module was so good that that's all I really had to do. Like I didn't have to tweak anything. The only thing about this module that I would probably tweak is they give you a couple new classes, and one of them is a paladin, and Dragonbane, but with the Dragonbane core stuff, there are no gods in it. So there's no like cleric class or anything like that. So they're really no info on the gods. And I had one character that played a paladin, so he wanted to know about gods and stuff. So we had to kind of make something up on the fly. I would do that differently if I was to run that again. But that was a really good adventure. Shadow over Gloomshire, you can get that on drive-through. Really, really good adventure. And the other one I ran more recently than that was this one by Raging Swan Press, Shadowed Keep on the Borderlands. This is an homage to Temple of Element, the Village of Hamlet, the Moat House, all that, and along with there's another one I'm trying to think of, and it's a classic, and it just went right out of my head. But this is an homage to those, and that is directly from Crichton Broadhurst, the author, who I've communicated with about it. Really good adventure, laid out really well, gave you a whole town to work with, a setting which I used in the system OSR version of it, and I used Shadow Dark for it, and it was a character grinder. But it was fun. It was a good adventure. It's actually a place I would like to return to for games. There's a bunch of adventures set in that setting, the Duchy of Ashlar, and I have them. They're adventure frameworks, and I would like to go back there. It was a lot of fun, but it was really well laid out and easy to work. Again, just read it. I didn't have to do any crazy note taking or anything like that. But yeah, so that's my take on session prep. It's kind of rambling, I guess, a little bit, but just on how I go into it. I mean, I keep on the technical side of it, I'm not a technical person. So John McClane had it right when he said technology peaked at frozen pizza. He was not wrong. But I use OneNote for the most part for like my CNC campaign. It's all in OneNote, and I have a section in there, a bunch of sections, but I'll have like the current sessions. You're up to session 85, but then I have a section that's for ideas. So a lot of times I'll be dubbing around and something will pop into my head. I'm like, oh, that would be really cool if we did this. And I don't want to forget that stuff because I have in the past. So what I'll do is I'll write it out and I'll put it in the notes section, a future ideas section of my OneNote. And just stored away. And I just write, like, it's no real order. Like, I'm not fleshing it out or anything. I'm just putting in the ideas as they're coming. And just so I have them for later. Then I can go back and flesh them out when I need to develop it further. I guess real quick, like my actual, I wish I should have printed something, one of my sessions. Typically now my actual sessions are typically either monster stats that I've had to modify that are in there, if I even bother to do it, because sometimes I don't. I kind of have a rough idea on what I want, and I just go with it, and I don't have to write them out. But monster stats will be in the session write-up, and the rest of it, like the notes, are typically in bullet points, just, real quick and as brief as I can do it. The other stuff, like, because my setting information is in the OneNote, and that stuff I try to flesh out a little bit more. Some of it isn't, though. I might have an idea about a random place, and I'll put it in there in the appropriate section, and I just put whatever ideas I have for it, again, to go back later and flesh it out when I need to. But yeah, that's my session prep. I usually also tend to wait till the last minute. I always joke with my son because he gives me a hard time that I do that. Even though I'll have plenty of time. Like, we're not playing again until the end of the month. We have a player away for work, so we're waiting until he comes back, my buddy Matt. And so I've prepped a little bit of the session, and I haven't worked on. I've been working on some other stuff. So I'll probably that week of the first session, I'll prep the session, and then we're playing the following week, so I'll really have to prep then. But yeah, that's me. That's how I do it. Love to hear how you guys do it. If you totally improv the whole game, I want to hear that. If you write out tons of stuff, I want to hear that too. So please feel free to leave your style in the comments. And I thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you at the next one.